Hello, and welcome to Mr. Johnson's Time Machine. I'm your host, Rory McBain, and I'm joined, as always, with my co-host and the inventor of Mr. Johnson's Time Machine, Mr. J. John Johnson.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you for having me. Episode 5.
I suppose it is. I don't know if how they're gonna order these, but I think this is the 5th one we've recorded.
Well, this is the 5th one I've taken
You've
part
been
in.
at,
So
yes.
for me, I was kind of celebrating, like I'm halfway there.
Oh, to the contract
Yep.
of the 10 episodes.
My contractual obligation. I have never once defaulted on a contract. So,
All right. Well, that's great. I hope that it doesn't start here with your default. I don't even know why we have to talk about so much defaulting on the contract, where we seem to bring it up every week. Anyway, what we're going to do this week, if you don't have anything else.
no, I'm good, Rory.
Okay, great.
Let's
Wonderful.
do
We
this.
can go into
I'm
the
very
episode.
excited about this episode.
Well, I am as
just wanna
well, and
say
I
that.
hope you listeners are, because today we are traveling back to a time and place known to many as the birthplace of civilization. I'm talking, of course, about ancient Egypt. The Nile Valley of 5,000 years ago was much different than the sand-covered desert that exists today. The fertile plains of the Nile Delta provided everything humanity would need to take that giant leap into civilization. These great ancient peoples were responsible for a number of incredible innovations that are the bedrocks of modern society, from written language to metalworking and glassmaking, all the way to the invention of toothpaste. The list of modern conveniences that were given to us by the Egyptians is as endless as it is surprising. And while toothpaste and the ability to record language are certainly important, there is nothing the ancient Egyptians created that has resonated with the world more than the Great Pyramids of Giza. As the oldest and only remaining ancient wonder of the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza has fascinated every conquering army or group of tourists that have gazed upon it over the last 4,500 years. And though these pyramids have been studied for thousands of years, they still present us with countless questions about the methods of their construction and what they really meant to the Egyptians. Today, we hope to answer a few of those questions as we take Mr. Johnson's Time Machine on a journey of over 4,500 years to the time before the pyramids. Perhaps we will decode the thinking of these innovative ancients to once and for all solve the mystery of the Great Pyramids. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Thank you for honoring our contract. That's the one part of the contract I do actually understand.
Yes, I know, because, well, it's mostly your products, so I would see why.
Mostly.
Well, it is, yeah, you're right. It's all your products. So
Be building a pyramid for me before they'll have one of these
you
shows
might want to
without my
consider
ads in it.
this podcast as one of your products, and maybe you'd
Yeah.
have a little more pride in it.
This is the wooden box I'll be buried in.
Picture this. You spent weeks slaving away at your job, scraping up just enough money for a nice vacation on the beach. You've got a drink in your hand, your toes in the sand, when suddenly some asshole starts playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow on a ukulele. Another vacation ruined by the world's worst song, played on the world's worst instrument. Fortunately, you can finally vacation ukulele-free using Mr. Johnson's Ukulele Detector. With its patented sonic technology, Mr. Johnson's Ukulele Detector can track down even the douchiest of ukulele performers. Simply turn on the ukulele detector's ultra-sensitive omnidirectional microphone and watch as it searches for the barf-inducing sound of a ukulele. Using satellite technology to pinpoint the ukulele's location, Mr. Johnson's Ukulele Detector alerts a former professional wrestler to grab the ukulele, throw it to the ground, and smash it to bits with an elbow drop. Now that the ukulele's been destroyed by a steroid-fueled behemoth, you can get back to having sex on the beach without the ukulele around to give you a flaccid penis. Mr. Johnson's Ukulele Detector. Because if you're too lazy to learn the guitar, you shouldn't have a ukulele.
Mr. Johnson's family of products.
Welcome back to Mr. Johnson's Time Machine, the Ancient Egyptians episode.
Man, I got to tell you, Rory, if there's a reason I'm doing this podcast, it's this episode.
We've gone back in history quite a distance to Stonehenge, another great mystery of history, if you will. But
Wow.
this one is
So I smell a spin-off podcast for you and
History's Mysteries. I think that's
a
already
dead guy
I
as
looked
your
into
co-host.
that. Okay, well let's get into what we're both excited about, of course, which is ancient Egypt and the pyramids and the creation of the pyramids, and of course, just the building of it would be remarkable. But what about the quarrying of the stone and the transporting of these massive stones, great distances over water or land?
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess, one, aliens are involved, and 2, deforestation. They just cleared areas, and then they're like, well, we can't see it. We'll cut down the trees. Man's vanity for his own creation. I can say I understand it. I experience it personally.
Did you have to deforest anything to
No,
create
but
your time machine?
my vanity in wanting to have my creations seen and appreciated has at times symbolically deforested my life.
That seems like a whole
Sure, if
episode
we ever
almost
want to
on
do a
its own.
personal episode where we listen to each other, sure. Why
Well,
not?
I don't think we need to do that because our history isn't as interesting as the history of the Egyptians, of course.
I suppose it depends on time of day. All right, I'm ready to go to Egypt.
I don't quite. Yeah, why don't we dial into Egypt? And again, folks, we're about 2600 BC, which precedes the date of the building of this great pyramid.
Population
See,
center.
a little insight into
Yep.
how
Okay.
things work there. And,
Here we go.
all right.
Pharaoh is all powerful, and Pharaoh is all wise. But Pharaoh is flesh. In this incarnation, I've appeared to you and come among you, the people of Egypt, in this form for your destiny to be fulfilled. When Pharaoh's flesh fails, Pharaoh would like something special to happen, and I'm thinking of a rather big public works project.
Wonderful.
Yes,
The people love doing public works projects for you, Pharaoh.
absolutely.
Well, that's very good news, because this would involve quite a few of them. I'm thinking something world class. Something that puts Egypt on the map. Let's get it rolling. Let's make it happen.
Let's be the
Let's
trendsetters.
think outside the box.
Yeah, who likes boxes and thinking inside of them?
And speaking of shapes, I've got one in mind. What's your favorite shape?
Any shape you love, Pharaoh.
Oh, it's
Shapes
not a trick
are-
question.
Oh,
I like circles are great.
Very
Come
good.
around and around.
Like the sun, my father. The circle, mathematically perfect and whole. What's your favorite shape? Don't say circle.
I won't. I'm
'Cause that one's
I'm
mine.
partial. I understand.
Okay.
Yes,
Circle's taken.
I'm partial to the rhombus.
I did not see that coming.
It's a little Greek for my taste.
a little Greek.
The rhombus, majestic, stands alone among the other
Quadrilaterals.
quadrilaterals.
Well, that's a
yes,
mouthful.
I know.
I have a pitch. Let's say that rhombus were to come to a fine point, pointing up at the disk of the sun,
Okay. All right. Now.
Oh.
Wow.
a pyramid.
A pyramid.
Okay. A pyramid. I like that.
So there it is.
I mean, we hit the jackpot
I
on
mean,
that one.
I'm going to say it. You knocked it out of the park. on
Well,
that
we
one.
knocked it out of the park. I mean, look, I have to, as much as I want to wring your neck half the time, I understand parents now. I really appreciate the assist you gave on this one. I think you gave very good, straight, direct instructions,
Well, it was,
and all I had to do was follow them.
Okay. I thought I've always been doing that, but this
Oh,
time.
God, no.
Okay, well, whatever we did this time, we should continue doing because we nailed
Sounds
it on the head, like you said. Right there, I believe that is the pharaoh Khufu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's what we've
Probably.
got. Essentially, Khufu was the pharaoh who basically began the
Public Works
construction, the public-
project, like he said. I thought that was...
and it just notes to so many things about how advanced that society was. Public works. Who's talking about public works? We haven't talked about
Nobody.
it in society since FDR,
No.
basically. But they were doing it back then. And then, of course, the obsession with shapes and mathematics that the Egyptians had.
You can also hear what I really admire is the reverence which they hold him. The two that
pharaoh?
are in the room with him, they know that everything they say could be the last words they utter if they say the wrong thing.
Well, and as he alluded to there, the circle, the sun, his father.
Yeah, that's some wacko shit. I
That's
mean, like
where
it's
you
one
start-
thing. It's one thing to think, you're following the one true God. It's another thing to think, no, the sun is my father.
Yeah, I don't even know how that would work biologically, but that's what they believed back then.
It wouldn't work biologically. That's why it's not true.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know. I thought that was obvious.
Oh,
Regardless,
was that a history joke?
It doesn't matter. The point is that we have essentially discovered that in order to keep the people busy and to honor himself, there's some ego involved there.
absolutely.
Certainly. You can argue about whether that's a good or bad thing for society. And with a large population, there probably wasn't enough to do. So let's build a pyramid. It's like building a sports arena nowadays. They
You
always
gotta
say
do
it's
something
great.
to keep the people working.
And it's good for the economy, so they say.
I
Except
think
when,
in a kind of underhanded way, we're kind of giving an attaboy to slavery, which I think is a bad move.
oh well, then let's not do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All previous comments
Let's just go back
rescinded.
to Egypt and see
Yeah.
what
Let's
happens.
see. Let's follow this up.
Imagine on the floodplain of the Nile a mixed-use, high-density, commercial, residential mortuary.
Commercial, residential.
Commercial, residential, multi-use, world-class installation.
I'm excited.
Oh,
Built at the public's expense,
oh,
Of course.
Yes.
with competent supervisors, presumably.
Yeah,
Sure.
those are the best kind.
Labor costs are going to be minimal,
Of course.
as usual.
Yeah, I love that part. Yes.
And this is where I intend to put my mortal remains upon my quiescence. And what I have in mind is something, perhaps the biggest structure in Egypt, and something you could see from miles away. It is featureless on the outside, but inside it is glorious. Where Pharaoh's earthly remains will repose is a place fit for the son of the sun. It's going to be simple, it's going to be breathtaking, but the inside is going to be gold, silver,
Wow.
ambergris, the finest alabaster statues, and most of my royal retinue, which would include my viziers, my advisors, my soothsayers, my doctors, my
I'm
pets,
sorry, Pharaoh.
my
I hate to
horses.
interrupt. Please don't kill me. You mentioned advisors would be with you. Then?
Staff.
Oh dear. Oh, well, there's a turn right there. It's always tough to get news like that, I would think. And though Pharaoh, you could tell there was a reverence for Pharaoh, please don't kill me.
Oh, certainly.
Stuff like
An
that.
abject terror.
But I don't know if they had expected that piece of information.
Oh, I don't think they expected
No,
it.
we all know that, yes, of course, the pharaohs were
yeah.
buried with their...
I don't understand, like, are these people going to be dead when they go in, or are they going to be alive and working in there?
Oh, well, perhaps these things need to be... Now, again, we are at the first... They built a bunch of these pyramids subsequently.
Right. If this is the first one, because he's
laying this all out.
conceiving on the spot.
I think I would like to comment on a couple of things about Pharaoh. Very eloquent man.
Yes.
You can see why he was... And, of course, the Pharaoh's going to be the most educated and everything.
Of
but
course.
He really...
Frighteningly charismatic.
A little bit. And I don't know if the mixed use commercial residential space, that may be the first use of those terms.
Certainly the first time I've heard of it.
I mean, he's a real estate mogul on top of everything else.
This is a Wayne Huizinga in the making.
It certainly is, if those who know Wayne Huizinga. And as you mentioned...
TCBY, country's best yogurt.
Yes, and I believe a sports owner, and that's what I wanted to say.
Blockbuster video. Yeah.
Once again, public works for the good of the community. It reminds me much of, like, for example, how the Raiders, NFL football team, built a stadium in Las Vegas in the desert, featureless on the outside, looks like a hockey puck, and then on the inside, a beautiful building and everything like that.
Absolutely. I mean,
Perhaps this is the Al Davis of Egypt.
Just win, baby.
Indeed. I'd like to find out a little bit more about, the setting up of this. Can we get right back into that?
I think it'd be easy to pick this.
But I will say that was a
good.
good stopping point because, again, imagine you're at that point where your company says, hey, we're going in a different direction or something like that.
And you think, oh, I'm about to be fired. No,
No.
I'm about to be buried alive with my boss.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to hear what's
That's
next.
even worse than something.
Let me level with you.
Okay.
When this is completed and Pharaoh is finally at rest, you will be resting with Pharaoh to serve him in the next life. We won't be alone. My soldiers, my generals, my dogs, my horse, my camel, my elephant, my concubines.
All
I
together.
gotta say,
But this
Phil.
is all in one fell swoop. We all go in and none come out.
Yeah.
But it seems like with all those precious items that make you who you are, do you really need us in there?
Well, thank you for saying precious. That's what I'm trying to impress upon you. You can tell your loved ones and let it be known to your posterity that you were considered so valuable to Pharaoh in this world that he could not enter into the next without you. It will be a great honor, and great honor will accrue to your family name for generations to come. For you will be entombed with Pharaoh inside.
And all of us again gone in one fell swoop and leaving behind a populace.
It won't be a problem for you by then.
It doesn't sound like a problem for us now. Just pointing things out
You will
that come
live
to mind.
for eternity with Pharaoh inside
that
this
sounds-
beautiful property.
Yeah.
And just forever waiting on Pharaoh. Forever, eternal.
You're welcome.
Well, if it wasn't clear before, I think Pharaoh made it very clear. He had this thought out.
Well, you would have to. I mean, think about the scope of this project. This can't just be improvised.
It's true.
I
You
find
can't
it
just.
stunning that I don't know if she's a high priestess or what she is. This woman just kind of keeps going at him. Like, am I
Well,
hearing
she's
you
getting
right?
it.
Am I
She-
hearing
right.
you right? Is it that she's dim, or is it that she's
No,
trying to
I
find
think
an
she's
angle?
maybe having second thoughts about where she falls in all this. Whereas the other, whatever high priest or whoever that,
Yeah.
he kind of is getting it. You still hear him kind of enabling and
Yeah,
kissing up.
This has a Heaven's Gate, Jim Jones, a very culty kind of feel going on there of like, oh, we're going to actually go through with this crazy plot?
Well, and with cults, constantly there's always they talk about the Jesus, what is it? He's got
Complex.
a complex.
And in this case, it's just baked right in from birth. You are the Pharaoh. You are the son of the sun.
I mean, come
Good
on.
God.
If that's not a cult, I don't know what is.
I have to say, though, that my engineering itch has not been scratched in this. I'm fascinated by what he's talked about. I'm fascinated by the conversation that transpired between the three of them, the planning of this architectural monument, but they didn't talk enough about how.
I agree. And honestly, we could spend the entire series just
This could be its
concentrating
own-
on just the pyramid.
Agreed.
But of course, this is our episode on the pyramid, and we do want to get into some of that other stuff.
Oh, please.
So, from what has been, learned throughout whatever history we have acquired from the Egyptians, the building of this massive project only took about 30 years, maybe even a little bit less. So we could just go anywhere into the next 10, 15, 20 years, and we would be at some point of the project being built.
Wonderful. Let's give the average wait time of 7 years to get a project off the ground.
That's true. You've got the permits and everything
We don't
going
want to be
on.
there for groundbreaking. We want
No.
to be there once they're in.
Things
full
are
swing.
working, going
People know
on.
what they're doing. Okay, I think I've got it here.
That's good.
We're looking
All
at
the
about
red tape's been
12
cut at this point.
12 years, 4
labor.
months, and 13 hours after.
All right. All right.
Oh, God, this pyramid is taking forever. I just put a quart of blood in that cement over there.
I think they're going to probably make us work past sundown.
Oh, they're definitely going to make us work past sundown. I'd say they make us work past sundown into the night and into the early morning until one of us drops dead.
This is not what I signed up for.
No, me either. Me neither. I didn't sign up for this. I literally did not sign up for this. I'm being forced to do this.
I don't like being a squeaky wheel, but I'm going to go and complain to make sure that we get treated better if we're going to be working here.
Working here. This is forced labor. We're slaves. There's no paycheck.
Sure. I want better opportunities.
We're slaves.
Oh,
I
come
was
on.
captured from my hometown. That's how you got here too, right?
I saw an ad in the Alexandrian Papyrus, and I met with some people. They asked if I was a hard worker. I had to do a couple of deep lunges, and then they were like, "You seem fit," and I was ready to go. And
Real quick, have you noticed how I've been being whipped and beaten?
we've been. That's part of the job, but I expected to have more time to get down off the pyramid, to spend time on the weekends walking around the Nile, to ass punt, to feast on scarabs.
Listen, I wanted to ass punt too. If it were up to me, I'd be ass punting every day, but I don't have time to ass punt. I'm in a prison. It's a job, yes, it's a job. We're literally building pyramids, but we're not getting paid because we're slaves.
Okay, you're a slave. I think maybe your attitude, this is exactly why I want to go to HR, because I think all of us are starting to feel that way.
That room you're staying in is a prison.
No.
It's got bars on the windows.
Yes, but it has a window.
Just because there's a nice view of the Nile doesn't mean you can leave. Have you noticed how no one else has a key to the door?
I don't think I need a key, but I think I know when I'm being disrespected by a fellow worker.
Okay, you know what? There's the foreman right over there. Why don't you go talk to him?
All right, maybe I will.
All right, go ahead. I'll come with you. I want to see this.
And there it is, I guess, the birth of
The labor movement,
union.
yes.
Huh?
Well, we'll see. I want to see how this shakes out, but I think that's a good time to pull out of the recording or whatever, because there was a lot in there to break down. Again, they're years into this project, and it sounds like, I don't know if he had a different timeline, but right off the bat, it's taking forever, like any construction project.
Well, absolutely.
Over budget, behind schedule.
Unhappy workers. Although look, I mean, we can't refer to them as these are slaves. These are people who were forced to do this work.
It
I
seems
find
that-
it unconscionable that this one guy applied for this job.
Well, it's a big project, and there are
true.
again, this is so far in the past, we can't be sure. Of course, slave labor was used, but there are some who believe that that labor was supplemented by indentured servants, which is a form of
almost
slavery as well.
certainly,
And maybe even some
certainly.
paid employees.
Almost certainly.
It
Of
seems
course.
like we're noting the advent of, yes, employee rights, the advent of a job service, in early Indeed,
like a temp
if you will.
agency or
yeah,
something.
they're putting an ad in and he just had to do some lunges, which indicates that that kind of activity was an important part.
I would be sure that if I applied for a job and they asked me to do deep lunges, I would be turning and leaving.
yeah, because that sounds like a lifting job right there.
That's not going to be good for my back.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about the strange hobbies that this guy seemed to want. When he's talking about asp hunting,
Was it
which I
asp
imagine he's saying
hunting?
asp hunting,
Or
well,
is it
asp
asp
is a-
punting, which a punt is a type of boat that they may have used on the river,
Oh.
but I don't know what asp punting would be in that
Well, if
way.
you were taking a donkey across a river, perhaps, but that doesn't sound
like a
as
sport or
fun.
something, like who can
But
take
even
the
if,
ass
like-
across the river
right.
fastest?
And if it's asp hunting, then you're hunting snakes, which I don't
and a
think
poisonous
sounds
snake.
terribly.
That's
yeah,
the snake that
doesn't
Cleopatra was supposed to have killed herself
exactly.
with.
And I think Ricky Tikki Tavi as well.
Well, no, that was a cobra.
Okay, we're going back in there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, what's going on?
I feel like maybe we've worked enough today, and that maybe we could go asp punting, or maybe we could go scarab feasting, or maybe we could just walk the Nile together. But don't you think this crude, ridiculous building perhaps needs a break for the workers?
Maybe you've been getting a lot of lime dust up your nose or something, and I'm going to chalk this one up to you made a little mistake. You came up here, but you're lucky I don't put this dagger right through your throat right now and kick you down these rocks. You are my slave. I don't want there to be any confusion in this. And if you don't get out of my face and get back to work in about
Did he
3
put you
seconds,
up to this? Did he
put me up to you.
this?
I'll take your hand for less. You watch your mouth, okay? Get yourself your
I
little...
am an employee here. Where is HR, sir? I officially resign.
Okay.
I resign.
Yeah,
and I
okay.
would
I'll
like-
see. The Death Boys will see you on your way out. Goodbye. See you now.
Oh, okay. That's an alarming sound. Apologies. The technology there, the AI is topped out on its intolerance for
Oh.
a segment. So what'll happen is sometimes if there's too much violence or too much specific egregious behavior, the AI will top out and it will just limit.
Well, that's
your
a
listening power.
good safety feature there for our listeners, because I think it was pretty clear something violent was going to happen to that
Certainly,
guy
I
right
think that
there.
guy
and,
that guy signed, sealed, and delivered his own death warrant.
and it sounds like again, if it happened right then, they got right to it. They don't waste much time on the workforce. It's just next man up.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that guy is lying at the foot of that pyramid seconds after. There's
Again-
probably somebody's job is to go around and clean up all the people that they killed
That just
throughout
get killed
the day
for
or
doing that.
died doing the job.
Right. There's got to be a
Construction is
death wagon going
Yeah.
around there. Again, I'll make the parallel to the NFL where you could just be cut for nothing. Now, this is probably literally
Yeah, it's a
cut
little
and-
different.
and
I
dead,
think
but-
too that you should be careful talking about an organization like the NFL in public. You don't want to get in trouble.
The NFL is it's a sports league. We're not talking about the CIA. I would make a big differentiation between the NFL and the FBI, or the NBA and the CIA, or the DEA.
Well, that's the difference between you and me.
Well, that's a
because
difference.
I can see the connections here.
Are
There's
you
a bigger,
suggesting
there's a
that,
bigger
that
thing
these
going on.
sports leagues are involved in some nefarious
You
actions?
use the word league. In league? Sure, of course. Absolutely. The amount of money that's going through there. Do you know how many congressmen, senators, even presidents have been elected by sports teams?
I don't. And
Anyway.
now we're kind of out of time.
Yep.
Well, this was Egypt, which
Yeah, we
again,
finally
we
did
could
it.
maybe we could do another episode at some point. There's so much, so rich. But I do want to thank Mr. Johnson. I want to thank you for your excellent work on the machine today.
Thank you very much.
Bringing us into some vital moments in the building of these
The work I
pyramids.
did on this machine was years ago, but thank you.
Well, it paid off today. And now is probably a good time for us to wrap up and thank our sponsor, Mr. Johnson, and the entire Mr. Johnson family of products, including Club Sandwich flavored club soda, the ukulele detector, and of course, the disco coffin. All of these products can be found at your local U.S. Post Office.
Thank you, Postmaster DeJoy. Mr. Johnson would like to extend a special thank you to all our participating consultants: Kevin Dorff, Dwayne Colbert, Megan Grano, Robert Janis, Matthew Craig, Daniel Antonucci, and Eddie Furman.
Mr. Johnson's family of products.